Marlon in the Philippines. You're live with Eric and Zod.
Hey Eric, how are you guys? Prophet of Zod.
Good. So it says here that archaeological evidence for Nephilim escaping to North and South America when Joshua and Caleb entered the Promised Land. Also, ancient terrible weapons. So here's the thing. How do you study? How do you vet your sources, Marlon?
Well, I base them on the documents that I've found online, such as audiobooks and other sources from my school.
Okay, so do you think that every book that is written is true? And every audiobook that you find is necessarily true?
Wait. This is what I want to say. There's an archaeologist.
No, hold on, Marlon. Here's the thing, man. No, it's okay. You've called in so many times about so much wacky stuff that I'm really concerned with how you get to this information and how you decide what is and isn't true. Because I think if we don't talk about that, we're going to be doomed to repeat this cycle over and over. We need to sharpen your tools and make sure that what you're using is going to get you reliably to truthfully understanding things about the world. And until we get there, dude, it's starting to feel like a waste. So again, if it's in a book, does that necessarily mean that it's true?
Well, not everything.
Okay, so how do we determine what is true and what is not true?
Well, by researching what the facts are. The truth is what the facts are.
Okay, so let's start with Nephilim. What is a Nephilim?
The Nephilim are the offspring of the fallen angels from the time of the Bible that have sex with human women, and they populate the land of Israel.
Sure, that sounds like any other. I mean, dude. Sure, I've come across concepts like that in fiction all the time. I don't think those things are true. So why do you think that description is one that matches to reality?
Well, there has been, this guy has found a skull in Paracas, Peru, and there were literally hundreds of skulls down there, and these are not completely human, but a Nephilim skull. There were also skeletons that would measure 9, 10, or 11 footers, sometimes with 6 fingers, double rows of teeth, copper ornaments, and these were not indigenously American. Then when you talk to First Nation, Native American, they would tell you that, oh no, there was a race of giants that predated us. They were here when...
You know what? I see where this went. I asked you what evidence there is of Nephilim, and you're talking about evidence that you think exists of giants. Cool. So you know that there have been, you know that there have been plenty of hoaxes for that kinds of stuff. How do you determine that something's not a hoax?
These are from newspapers dating 150 years ago when settlers pushed west. They found burial mounds. At first, everybody thought that these were Native Americans. And
burial mounds are not surprising at all. That's a thing that we do.
I'm not sure what 150 years ago has to do with it anyway, because hoaxes were extremely popular back then.
And Prophet of Zod, there were these Paiute tribe Indians. They talk about what was a race of cannibal giants. They were very large, and the Paiute would fight against these giants. And at one time, they herded them into a cave and set the mouth of the cave on fire. This cave is the Lovelock Cave in Nevada, where the Seneca tribe, which was a race of giants, were annihilated. Actually,
So,
this came.
I'm sorry, before you go too much farther here, there's a lot to unpack in this, including where you got this information, whether it's credible. And as a listener, I have to have a constant filtering process going in my mind. People could come with me with anything from ghost stories to UFO stories to these giant stories. And with something like that, I think it's important that you understand what this sounds like in the ears of someone like me, how many other similar stories we've heard, and what I'm supposed to do with this information. So there's a lot to unpack there that I don't think we could really fully resolve in this conversation. What I'm curious about, just as one single point, is where do you draw the connection? And I'm sorry if you've already gone over this before, but where do you make the connection between large skeletons having been found and some local legends existing and Nephilim? I'm not seeing that connection at all.
Well, from the Bible, when Joshua and Caleb were entering the promised land, and God was putting destruction all over the city. All of the tribes were not annihilated. There were these giants up from the mountains, and they were like, "We gotta get out of here."
I'm sorry, if I could cut you off. I know where this is going to go, and I'm afraid it's going to get a little laborious. But it sounds like the connection, just to sum this up really quickly, the connection is that giant bones were supposedly at least found somewhere, and the Bible has tales of giants. A lot of cultures have tales of giants. So I'm wondering why you think these are the specific giants of the Bible story versus of the Odyssey or something like that.
A lot of people thought that all of the giants were annihilated when God has spread his wrath over the land of Israel, just like.
Okay, hold on a second. A lot of people thought, because when God did a thing, you're talking to two atheists, and I don't know who the hell a lot of people is. Try again. Give us some information.
What I'm trying to say is there are these giants that escape and flee northward. Some of them sailed.
Where's your evidence for that? And I'll tell you right now that it literally took our crew 2 seconds on Google to see that Snopes has already debunked this thoroughly. So how come you didn't find that? Have you even tried looking to see if you're wrong?
Well, I have these documents from Google Drive.
No, I didn't ask you that. Try again, Marlon. Did you even try in looking to see if you were wrong?
Well, I have been watching this show.
This show does not talk about giants and archaeology. Do you try to research the things that you find online to see if you are wrong?
Well, yes.
Okay, and I'll give you an example. We all do it. So I was looking at buying something on Amazon. I read the good reviews and the bad reviews, right? I want to make an informed decision. But it looks like a cursory Google search will show that what you're talking about has been thoroughly debunked. And so are we just here to Google things for you?
Have you watched the show Sidrots? It's supernatural.
Okay, I don't think you're answering the question. Let's try that again. Are we just here to Google things for you?
No, sorry.
Okay, so why aren't you doing it yourself?
Well, I've done my research before.
Okay, then how come it took like 5 seconds for our crew to find this on Snopes? Do you go to Snopes? You should check it out.
I don't know what
Go to Snopes.com, SNOPES.com. It helps.
I mean, okay.
Okay, sounds good. Next time, look to see if you were wrong. Find ways to falsify what you're looking at. And falsification means, hey, if I'm right, then this should play out this way. But if I'm wrong, it should play out this way, right? Find ways to falsify your claim and then see if it's been falsified and see and test it, right? if the claim that you made is one of giants and all of this, then what you find should be a preponderance of evidence, or at least something that the scientific community is looking a lot into. Why? Why is it not? Well, let's take a look. Oh, hey, it looks like these were thoroughly debunked. Okay, no wonder. No wonder people aren't looking into it anymore. Okay, this was not a true.
Whether in the town of Waitura in Peru, which is 9,000
Okay,
feet
I
above
think you're just waiting for your turn to talk. Zod, anything else?
Yeah, that conversation held very little interest for me, to be fully honest.
Okay,
There's so
Marlon,
many
okay.
people who have done their research or have a thing of Google Drives or can appeal to a local legend, and it all sounds the same to me, and there's not really any dissuading people once they reach that point. I appreciate people who are willing to try to work away at that, but they have no sense of what their claims sound like to other people and how little it gives any of us to work with. And so if you bury yourself in this little world and feel like you're doing recreational research of some kind, yeah, it sounds really cool to you, but it gives us literally nothing to work with. And it sounds so much like so many other things. There's not really a place to start conversation. And so I like to be patient with people, but I just don't know what to do with that.
Well, I mean, we talked about rationality in an earlier call, and I've talked about this on my personal show, that when you ask somebody, is this rational, they'll give you their internal justification. Well, this fits my view of God. This fits my understanding of what's in the Bible. But that's not going to convince us. Another way of looking at whether or not something is rational is there sufficient evidence to justify accepting it as true? Why? Because, hey, why did you put on your lucky socks? Oh, because every time I do that, I win a baseball game. Okay, let's look at that. And when we study it, if you can show me, if there is sufficient evidence, then you could convince me too. If there's not sufficient evidence, though, I'd say that that's not rational. You can internally go perfectly in a circle and think a whole lot of weird stuff. But if you want to interact in a world that other people exist in, we have to demand more of that. And that, what he had, may have seemed rational to him internally, but it does not come off as rational externally. He has access to the internet.
And what really destroyed his credibility more than anything else, to me anyway, is the jump from the bones to the Nephilim. Nobody's going to dig up those bones and based on what they see, as far as I can tell, say, holy cow, these must have been the sons of fallen angels who blah, blah, blah from the story of Genesis. Yeah. That data is not in that dig. Basically, there's large bones and somebody who already believes the Bible. At best, there are large bones. I kind of maybe doubt that there are, but they're just trying to connect to something they already believe. So the real meaning behind it is entirely made up in his head and in stories that he's read from the Bible. And even given any kind of data from a dig, even if it did exist, really all the hard lifting is being done in his mind.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you nailed it.